Good evening from Artscape. In our Stories of Impact series, it is our absolute pleasure to welcome this evening Dr. Anonna Guha. Welcome, Anonna, to this conversation, and thank you very much for your time. To introduce Dr. Anonna Guha, she is, of course, a performing artist, a dancer. Along with that, she is the managing director of Nrityanjali Group. She is a sociologist, a counselor, an educator, and a corporate trainer. Thank you, Anonna, once again for your time and your absolute willingness to have this conversation with Artscape. And as you are already aware, I was keen to have this conversation because, as I've already shared with you, there is a lot of synergy in the work that Nrityanjali, Dr. Guha, and you do, and what Artscape has been doing over the last 4 years. That is using performing art-based tools, using expressive arts therapy for mental well-being, for personality development, for just for our well-being and a better quality of life. So I know you have a huge gamut of work behind you. Nrityanjali has a huge gamut of work behind the organization. So there is a wide range of people, beneficiary groups that you have worked with, which is victims of domestic violence, about destitute women, jail inmates, old age homes, and of course, students, children in schools as well as colleges, and also with corporates. So my first, I would like to know is in all of this work, in all of these sessions, this kind of exchange, how much have you used expressive arts or the performing art? How much has your experience as an artist contributed to this work?
Namaskar and good evening, and thank you, Kamalika ji, for this wonderful opportunity. It's lovely to exchange thoughts and views with like-minded people in the similar sphere of work, where we are trying to contribute our own in our own way. Let me put it that way. So I think primarily what happens is that when we are dealing with this various beneficiaries that we have spoken about, so performing arts elements is one aspect of it, a very, very important aspect of it. We do use a lot of psychology in it as well. And why I'm mentioning is a lot of psychology is that whenever one is dealing with people, there has to be an understanding of the psyche. One necessarily doesn't need to become qualified, psychologist, so to speak. But I think because that would be a professional thing. But as we all face life, all of us, you, me, we start understanding people more. And that is the psychology here that I'm also talking about. So the performing art forms, the way we use it, the elements of music, dance, drama, a lot of elements of sports as well, is primarily, I think, when one is dealing with, people at this level, firstly, it makes us as an individual, while facilitating and by being there, lose our inhibitions and express in a very open manner. I think that's one of the primary things as an artist that I think I'm sure you will agree is that we lose this sort of very conscious self, and we become very uninhibited in a whole lot of ways when we are expressing ourselves. And that becomes very important when we are interacting with people, because then we are able to touch the heart if we are genuine, of course. So that is one area of the performing art form, that losing inhibitions, I believe, becomes a very, very important aspect, and that connects to the mind of the person. And they also find the entire thing to be very high energy, because if one needs to, in all our sphere of work, actually, not just only the beneficiaries that we have been speaking with, but it's very important to be able to motivate. So as a parent, we are motivating our child. A teacher is motivating the student. the boss in the office is also motivating the subordinate. And naturally, everyone, if I've gone through a tough time in life and we are, feeling that everything is not correct and, things could be better, that also requires motivation to come out of it. So one of the very important aspects to motivate people is to have that vivaciousness, that energy in something. In Nrityanjali, like our mentor, like you very rightly said, Dr. Tushar Gaur, who has more than 45 years of research, and that's what I'm speaking about here today, is that there is something called as loose motion face and constipated face. The loose motion face are people ki hamesha haste hain, hamesha khush. And constipated face is the term that we use ki thobra सूज, dukhi hai na problem, but we are always, enjoying somewhere to be in that problem, and the face is always constipated, dukhi. Now, in life, we will always like to meet people who are happy. Not that we don't have our problems, not that we don't have our aches and pains, but that's there. So with that, what else can I do? So this is one area where the performing art forms, because I think every dancer knows that we're on stage, we have to have the smile. We call it the 8-number smile. We have these counts for our smile. And but of course, it has to be backed by genuineness. It has to be spontaneous. It cannot be just a plastic smile, because we cannot fool all the people all the time. So that's one aspect. We use a lot of...
So basically, Anonna, you're talking about attitude, right? You're talking about attitude.
I'm talking about, yes, attitude in the sense that these are the skills that one learns in the performing arts.
Yes.
So that is the skill that we are applying. Why I'm differing it from attitude is because that one can apply the skill and use the skill very effectively. But if the attitude of humility is not there inside, then the skill application will not happen. That is the reason I'm differentiating it. So, for example, you are somebody who is an extremely humble person, and it comes across. So that helps to reach out to people very easily. Skills we all have, so skills we cultivate. But what differentiates that is that attitude with which I'm, that word is transferring. Yes. How am I transferring that skill is what I'm talking about here.
Got that. Right. Yes. Anonna, would you like to share any experiences in whichever the gamut of work that you have, any experiences where you have seen, how you have used art very successfully or effectively with a particular beneficiary group or, somebody who you have interacted with?
Right. So we, in Nrityanjali, we are, of course, an NGO primarily. And we have been, we celebrated our 57th foundation day this year in July. And Nrityanjali has been a center for people coming here. All the people who have their pain come to Nrityanjali. What I mean is, like, all the people, meaning anybody who comes here has some degree of pain in their life. And a sir always says कि सब मेरे पास ही क्यों आता है? फिर हम ये सोचते कि हाँ दुख दर्द नहीं होगा तो यहाँ पे आएंगे क्यों? So there is that pain. But the best part is, when we are interacting with each other in a group, nobody knows what the other person's pain is, and each one heals the other person in that environment. And for example, we have something called as a Sunday class in our institute, where we teach music, dance, drama, event management, everything gratis, free to the youths for these 57 years now. Now, over there, what happens is the dance, music, drama become motivating elements. So we have several times the ones who come to us for counseling, again, counseling is gratis in our institute, is when they come to us for counseling, when they have been victims of domestic violence, or they have been victims of physical or sexual abuse. And when they're coming and opening out, everything cannot heal with medicines. So the healing has to happen. Now, how that healing happens, that one part of healing is when one is speaking it out to somebody, we feel our grievance has been heard. जब थोड़ा बहुत कोई हमसे सुनता है, मेरा मन खाली हो गया है, then we feel a little good that I have been able to share. But healing is not something that is going to happen in a matter of 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So this is the environment on every Sunday when such people come and dance, learn the various folk dance forms, perform with us on the stage, and in an environment where there is a lot of acceptance, there's a lot of joy without anybody knowing. So, for example, if Dr. Tushar Goa has counseled the person, the case, let me put it in that sense, nobody else in the group will actually know what has happened. Nobody. So it's just that so and so has just joined the institute, and he or she is going to be here for these couple of months. And I think over the years there has been a lot of acceptance built by the number of people who have been there in the institute, in the seniors, the ones who are below the seniors. So there is never any question asked कि क्यों है, क्या हुआ है. Nobody wants to know, nobody wants to ask any questions. आप आइए, you be a part of the group, you be a part of the dancing, you be a part of the exercising, you be a part of the singing. That's every Sunday. It's 3 hours, and whenever there are shows, of course, they are specifically taken there, and that becomes so healing. 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. So that joy actually comes back. I'm so happy you're asking me this question, because this healing is a very important thing, and healing does not happen with only words. Sometimes just this, in fact, several times, just this environment of being around and having people accept you without any questions and being occupied in activities. And sometimes they might not be dancers, actors, and singers. Everybody doesn't need to dance or sing or act to heal. But the fact that they just sit there and watch, and chai serve hoti hai, so they are served the tea, they're part of the group discussions, a lot of philosophy discussed, that becomes the healing. So those are the areas. Then we have another course called as the Special Personality Development course. Now, this is primarily serves research on human relations, psychology, and the arts, where there is Sangeetmay Dhyan Chintan. That means through musical notes and rhythm, there is meditation that he has developed and researched. That becomes something where people are able to heal. So sometimes it's not really that I have to dance, but I can use the elements of dance, I can use the elements of music, I can use the elements of drama. So this helps to sort of maintain their physical agility. This helps to calm their mind. And at the same time, it helps one to uh, evolve and discover oneself. I just like to give you an example. So for example, if you're doing a meditation, it would start with, it's a 16-day process, but just in a nutshell, it start with the counts of rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, breathe in. After this, the tone of the counts will change with anger, sorrow, fear. These are all in search series, of course, which is already available, where it helps to bring out all the negativity in the person which is coming, and then that is calmed down with the sangeet and shlokas of Vritha vrishti samudreshu Vritha truktasya bhojanam Vritha danam samarthasya Vritha dipo divapicha. This in a nutshell. Why I gave you this example is because when we talk about performing arts, it has to be done, right? It has to be understood in that context, which is why I just give you this example.
No, fantastic. No, Anonna, extremely valuable. See what, as I said, that our thoughts, like what we are also trying to achieve through our work, there's a lot of synergy because you spoke about, see, as artists, we are able to express more easily than other people, right? It whether it is a smile or just that confidence of being on stage, the confidence of being able to perform. And so this is what I feel that arts gives us, that self-confidence, the self-awareness, a sense of a balance, which I feel not only physically, not only in our body, but also a balance in our mind. How, that is dance or music or drama, everything. It helps us, flower and blossom in many ways. Then one, which is not only about, so apart from the performing bit, there is so much more that it gives us to hone us as the individual and the person that we finally become as after learning the arts, right? And I feel that the biggest advantage that, as you already mentioned, is about the expression, to be able to express whether I am, because in the course of the work that we are doing at Artscape, we realize that on a lot of times people are not ready to accept or acknowledge what they are thinking, as in they are not in connect with their emotional self. I have to first understand that, if what am I feeling, where am I today? So only if I accept it, then am I able to express it.
Absolutely.
And whatever we do not express, dance movement therapy, that is what it teaches us, that it gets lodged in our body. That is also what our Ayurveda says. That is also what our yoga says, right? That whatever we are not being able to express is getting lodged in our body. Because, and also that our body as well as our mind are very, very intelligent beings. So they do recall and remember and, react to our thoughts. And that is, I think, it is very, very important all the time to be able to be in touch with ourselves. And from here,
In fact, that's the word. Sorry, can I just add
yes,
there
please,
that
Anonna.
about acceptance is that's exactly what in psychology we call it as denial. So when we are in the denial mode and we refuse to sort of accept that there is a problem or there is something that I need to do about it, then it cannot happen. It's like, the food can be put into the mouth, but the swallowing has to be done by the person. So we cannot push somebody to swallow the food.
Absolutely. And also, another thing that resonated with me in what you just said is having a supportive environment. When you say that whoever is coming to Nrityanjali is kind of, just getting their peace, being in that space, which is allowing or facilitating the healing. Similarly, I think that we all need to find a supportive environment, whether at our home or at our work. And that is something that is a deterrent in our growing if we don't have that. And also, I see that unfortunately, that a lot of a safe space, as we call it, or a supportive environment, that is something that is lacking with that's something that's not a privilege with many. And whoever has it is something that they should feel grateful for, because in the course of our conversations we understand that they not everybody has supportive family or has
Yes.
supportive colleagues, and that kind of really really becomes a deterrent in an individual's growth and their quality of life.
Yes, and Kamalika ji, somewhere, so one is that we all would want to have an environment which can help us flourish and which can help us grow. But it's equally important to realize that I have to stand up on my own 2 feet and I have to fight my battles on my own, and nobody else can fight it for me. So even the support will be there to an extent, but beyond that, it is the individual who will need to go forward.
Absolutely. So as you said that the self. So one, ultimately we can only rely on ourselves, right? Even supportive environment, supportive family, workplace, whatever it is, whether at the end of the day the ball rolls down to just one, and that is the self. So which is why it is very important to be in touch with our physical self as well as our emotional self, and try to do the best that we can for ourselves. And that is something I feel that many people, and to be able to do the best for ourselves, I feel that we need to first accept and acknowledge both the positives as well as the negatives, right? And
Absolutely.
also, Anana, here when we are talking about people accepting their own stories or their own life, uh, see, I just wanted to ask you, because why do you think that mental well-being, that people do not are not focused on their emotional self or on their mental wellness? Why do you think it's so much of a taboo? Why do you think it's still on the sidelines? What is your understanding?
Yes, I think, in sociology, while I was doing my PhD, my first PhD was in sociology, second was in human relations psychology. There's something called as a looking glass self, a theory called as looking glass self by Cooley, and which talks about is that we like to see ourselves depending on what the perceptions of the people are around us. So we are always trying to live up to somebody else's expectations that so and so is this, so and so expects me to be this. And because of which, somewhere we lose touch with what is the core, what is within me. And human relationship is need based. Parents need children, children need parents. Employer needs employee, employee needs the employer. The dancer needs the audience, and the audience needs the artist. So it's all a complete need based, and there's no selfishness in it. It's not about any opportunity, but then that's how life is. So primarily when we look at the body and the mind, which of which an individual is made up of, there is this thing that if I'm seeking help, or if I need to ask somebody, then there is something wrong with me, because I'm supposed to be perfect on my own. So, for example, I may want to go to the gym, or I may want to run in the garden to tone up my body. But the fact that I need to tone my mind is something that we want to think about it later. And I'll tell you why that happens, because toning the mind is much more difficult. So it is not very easy to know the mind. We can calm the mind, but knowing what the mind and what is going on all the time, it's not very easy. And so between the body and the mind, the body is easier to start off with because it's concrete. I can see it, I can touch it. But the mind is something completely abstract, nirakar hai. So it becomes very difficult for us to understand really what is happening.
What is happening?
Secondly, if we want to seek help or go to somebody, I've studied in St. Xavier's College, and I remember in my, I think, 11th or my 12th standard, I just told my parents there is Father Terence in college who's a counselor, and I'm just going to go visit him just to have a chat. So both my parents said, "Oh, really? Okay, just go." So they never asked me, and there the chat was about actually absolutely nothing. So just that, we have, the college has a counselor, and I felt that, oh, there's a counselor. What must I do? Because this I'm talking about in 90, 93, 92, 93, where even the fact that a college has a counselor was not really heard of. And Xavier, being Xavier's, Mumbai was always a very, very, open and had. And so I said, no, I just want to chat with Father Terry. And I remember Father Terry saying that, what is it that you want to talk? I said, no, just, he said, so you exactly know what you want to do? I said, yes, but it's just a bouncing off. So there's nothing wrong with going to somebody to talk, but it's very important to understand whom am I talking to, because it might not be everybody's cup of tea to understand and accept. And that, I think, becomes the main reason why we do not want to go and talk to people. Because in psychology, there's something called as Eric Barnes theory, and which says that in transactional analysis, the sender must understand the capacity of the receiver to receive. So अगर सामने वाले की वो क्षमता उतनी है कि वो हमको समझे, बूझे, तो हम वो बात करें. So I think what happens is that, and it's not that the सामने वाला is wrong, right? But he or she has only that much capacity. So in the glass of water, if it's full and I'm pouring more water and I'm expecting, आपने मेरी दुख की कहानी नहीं समझी, कैसे समझेगा, वो तो full है ना already. So that, I think, becomes an issue where we are worried about whom can I go and tell it to, because people also, I'm sure at certain times we end up telling some people, and then we feel betrayed that so and so has, somebody.
Right.
And but that person might not have done it on purpose, but uski क्षमता ही उतनी है. The capacity is that much. So that is why we wonder, whom can I go? And let's also understand that everybody wants to be with somebody who is strong. Nobody likes to be with somebody who is, trying to shed tears. I mean, I might shed tears here immediately with you because I'm an emotional person, but in the next couple of moments, I can also come back to my strong self and my aggressive self if I want. But that both the patterns will be seen because that is basically me. But unfortunately for fortunately for people, we might end up seeing only that one angle and not the other. And which is why, so if I go and want to share, I mean, people who are at the helm of affairs, do they really have an option to break down and say that I need to speak to somebody? Because agar wo karenge, then they are supposed to be leaders and I'm supposed to be strong. Do we parents have the option really of breaking down? Do we really break down in front of our children all the time? No, we are also trying to show that it's fine. I'll take care of it. Every leader.
Mhm.
So I think that that's a very natural self that we want to show that everything is fine or want to believe. And somewhere our thinking process that human beings, we have the capacity to think and analyze, we stop
Mhm.
that. ये सोचना नहीं है. Let's just जैसे है चलने दो. Why should I think? Because more I analyze it, I know I'm digging, my.
Deepa,
In
correct.
fact, I was just, I mean, while we had decided we are going to speak about this, and I might just mind just said that we often say it's a taboo to go to a counselor or speak. Now, for serious mental issues, one might need medicines from a psychiatrist, but several times it's just enough to just chat with somebody, and with somebody whom I'm very, very comfortable with, and somebody who touches my heart. And I was thinking that the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, guides Arjuna so well as to why he should be fighting the war. Wasn't he actually counseling Arjuna?
Of course.
So that is a counselor. It is there with us. And he was counseling Arjuna, giving him the various options, saying that this. And the decision had to be Arjuna's that I will continue to fight the war. Lord Krishna couldn't force him to. Similarly, as a counselor, when we go to talk to somebody, a counselor can only give me options saying that you can take this option, this option, this option. But I have to choose and I have to decide. So I think somewhere this needs to be understood that we have all, it's a guide or a philosopher, but if for mental well-being, I definitely need to find the right person. I think that is critical. Just like we believe that we need to have finding the right teacher is not
Mm.
easy,
Mm.
even in the performing art forms. It's not
Correct.
about the skill. It's not about the skill. It's about your connect with the person. It's about how effortlessly you can just open out and talk without feeling the sense of hesitation or fear. To me, that is the right person. So वो अगर मिलता है, then I think people this thing. And I think the fact of the matter is taboos will exist in various levels, right? Taboos will be taboos or acceptance, like you rightly said. We are talking about accepting ourselves, but how much does society really accept? So if a person wants to go and tell out that there is something wrong with me, or I'm feeling mentally this thing, immediately he's bracketed. We are very judgmental people as a race. We don't assess people, we judge people. So moment the judgment happens, people withdraw.
Vitra. You know, Anana, the reason, primary reason why we were having these series of conversations, which we're calling stories of impact, with people who have had valuable experience, such as you, uh, the reason was that this pandemic, it has been an unprecedented situation, right? And each one of us have had a lot of challenges to deal with. But there are but I also understand that people don't know how to cope with this. People are not even talking about it, like you said, because this is judgmental society. People And also because we are all leaders in our home space, in our workspace, or whichever. If it is, there are parents involved, there are children involved, there are colleagues involved. So where there's a group of artists involved, whatever it is, wherever space we are, we're always trying to put up a look, or we are wearing a mask most of the
Mask.
time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we are not acknowledging or accepting this, that like I have said in my previous conversation, that initial days of the lockdown, I did have issues with sleep. I did have, but there are insecurities, a lot of fear in all of us, because we don't know where this is headed. Every day there is we hear that these cases are going up, and we see there's no end to it.
Right.
So, which is why we thought that we wanted to, get a person like you, or have these conversations, whereas we can openly speak that it is, everything is not all right, or not only during the pandemic or otherwise. Life is
Otherwise,
about,
yes.
yes, there is always going to be a mix, but it is important for us to accept that, acknowledge it, number two, and thirdly, act on it. As you said that, it's not about, going to, it could be if you need to go to see somebody or take professional help, or else even speak to a person who you feel is supportive in your lives. But it is to express important to express what we are thinking, which will probably, help us cope with life in general. Would you agree to that? Would you think that it is very important to be able to express, and people should not hesitate to, acknowledge if they're feeling fearful, or if they're feeling angry, or if they're feeling insecure?
Kamalika ji, it's a very how do I put it? It's a very difficult situation because difficult possibly is not the right word. It is very situation based. Is that if somebody wants to express, while somebody should express, like you said, I need to, but the upbringing might be some way that the person has never spoken a word since childhood till the age of 25,
Yes.
and it's not possible to, because of the way family members have been very dominating possibly. And so the child has always the adult is always withdrawn. So unless there is an environment where there are people egging him or helping him or her to come out and speak, it takes years. In fact, even in this pandemic, currently we are having, like I told you, counseling in our institute is free of cost. So several, and now it's online because physically they can't come. So which every, like they say, every cloud has a silver lining, and this has made it much more accessible to people. And we recently even had a case where this young child, while we were counseling, as a slow learner, parents' expectations are different, child expectations are different. So while you're talking to both separately, it's so difficult. Now, whom do you? Parents, every parent loves the child the most, no doubt about it. You want the best, but there is going to be a difference in that expectation. So
Absolutely.
finding the right person to speak to, I would believe is important. And somewhere it is important to do certain steps to get it out yourself, because at times you have nobody to speak to. I still believe very strongly, as such, as of course I've got this, it took me some time to realize it, that we are all alone in this world. And it's not loneliness, but it's a strong and firm aloneness from which we derive strength. And we have to, if we don't have the right person to talk to, each of us will have to devise our own mechanism. For somebody it might be penning it down on a piece of paper, we call it EFT, or write it down, tear it out, get it out. For somebody else it could be about dancing. For somebody else it could be about just screaming in the bathroom. Each one will have to find their own way. And yes, and if we can find the right person where we can bounce off the ideas, it would really help. बट इवन देयर हम देखेंगे कि कभी कभी कुछ हद तक हम बोल सकते हैं. So maybe I have 10 things, first 5 I say, and then there are a whole lot of 5 which we learn to deal with
Correct.
on our own. But I would say that yes, if we can seek help, that will certainly aid.
So, on the session that we are doing at Artscape, in fact, we sent out an invitation, similar like you're saying that, just anybody can participate in these sessions, where again, like you just speaking about, finding your own, way of coping, right? So we are talking about journaling. We sit and journal. And of course, it's easy to write the first 5, but it is not easy to write everything, because of course, because of what all these years of and yes. And then we are talking, we use a lot of colors. We use a lot of colors to help understand how we are feeling, like what is the color of my heart at the moment, similar. So I think that of course music, wonderful, always the meditation. And so that is what we are also trying to say, that everybody, it is difficult, environments are not always suitable, people around you are not always supportive, but each one should at least take some time off to, or take some time out to take cognizance of their emotional self and find a way to deal with this time. So that is, and so Anonna, just to wrap this up, I wanted to ask you, how have you dealt with these last few months? What has been, your coping mechanism?
Well, initially when it started, I think we were all sort of taken aback as to what is happening because it was unprecedented. And I actually, when the 21-day lockdown got announced, I actually ended up shifting with my daughter to my parents' place. And I think that ended up being absolutely wonderful because my husband was already caught up in Kolkata and there was no way that he was going to be back. And so I think, again, my parents and Nrityanjali are my two support systems, or my to-go people, both the institution and because we have a lovely team of people in the institution. So it sort of helped. So that helped. I'm a workaholic, basically. So I find work. Let's put it that way. So काम हो ना हो मैं ढूंढ लूंगी काम कि आज मुझे ये करना है. So when you're constantly active and you're doing something, it helps. And being an artist, dancer, in fact I took to my singing quite a lot now, and because this sort of gave me that time which I normally in the office don't end up getting a lot. And I think dance as an artist, there's the spirituality that we have, and that spiritual and that surrendering self to the Lord is something I think becomes critical. For the ones who believe in God, for the ones who do not believe in God, surrendering to some supreme being who is managing the entire thing. It works both ways. And so I think that helped tremendously to sort of put the thing. And it became a tremendous learning with technology. I mean, I've never, all our office staff used to always do the accounts and the payments, and suddenly I'm trying to figure out all the technological payments and I'm good at it. So, like I said, that there's always a learning experience and we learn. So it's been interesting to see that, these shades of life, because I've always heard that there has been a famine or a war, things like that, which we or I never got exposed to. And COVID is like a war-like situation where we are just seeing for the generations to come that I will be able to share that story.
I know. Yeah, I know. Same. I would resonate and agree to what you're saying that this has been a huge learning, the pandemic. Similarly, initially it took me the I was quite taken aback at what is happening. The news was used to like kind of depress me.
Yeah.
A lot of anxiety that time, to see what was happening around. But then, yes, yeah, you just kind of are able to maneuver through every day and then see what is it that I can make the most of it. So I also listen to a lot of music. I do a lot of journaling also, and I feel that also spending time with my girls, that was, I've not had this kind of time with them, and they've also not kind of used to that ma being
Having
around all the time. So I think that maybe this is what I will also take back from the pandemic, and that's maybe that will I'm thinking that maybe the bond with the children will be stronger, more, better. So, as yeah, there has been a learning, and as well as yeah, and I would also say that to anybody who's listening to this conversation, that yes, not only during the pandemic but life in general, there are always ups and downs, and there will always will be moments of strength and moments of weakness. But we all need to be in touch with our own self. We have to find and be in touch with our core, and we have to find mechanisms to help us cope with whichever situation we are. So it's very, very important to be able to find the balance within ourselves and within our life. So thank you very much, Dr. Anonna Guha, once again for coming and joining us this evening and for all your valuable inputs. And thank you to all our friends who have been watching us. Thank you once again. And
Thank you very much, Kamalika ji. Been a
good
pleasure.
evening. Good
Namaskar.
evening. Namaskar. Thank you. Bye.